Thanks, everyone. Oh, those two wonderful talks. I think I bring a contrast to this. I guess when I was your age at school, I was always a dancer. I'd spend most of my days dancing, most of my nights dancing, all the weekends dancing. It's just been part of my life. And this is a long time ago. And education in those years, it was different. We couldn't study dance at school, we couldn't study film, or such wonderful subjects as MediaArts. So it was, I don't know, science and math was my thing. And I had wonderful teachers in those subjects. Somehow those teachers showed me and inspired me to the beauty, of solving a very abstract problem. So whilst I wanted to be a dancer, I just couldn't quite see how I was going to create a career in it. So I ended up at university beginning a science degree. Sitting in a maths lecture, looking at amazing calculus problems on a blackboard, going, okay, I can sense the elegance of this, I can see the beauty of it, but it is just not moving me. I need to study movement in some way. So I heard, this was in New Zealand actually, I was born in Auckland, and I heard about this amazing place in Melbourne called the Victorian College of the Arts. It had just started, this was in the early 80s, and I thought, okay, this is a place for me to see if I could find a career in the performing arts. So I auditioned, I got in, and found myself in this amazing place with students of music and theatre and dance and film. From day one, again, it was from an inspiring teacher that I met who just switched my thinking. She showed me from day one that I could not only be a performer, but I could be a maker. That to be a choreographer of movement was as important as being the doer. So I felt it was a very privileged beginning for me, having had this incredible moment of clarity that, yes, maybe I don't just have to perform it, I can actually create it. So I went on to have quite a long career in performing and in choreographing in Australia and in New York. I danced for lots of different companies and amazing people. But there was something that frustrated me at the impermanence of what dance is. I mean, that's the beauty of dance. It's a peculiar beast. You perform it and then it's gone. And people would try and put cameras in front of what we were doing and try to document a dance. And I felt that no one could do this properly. I just felt it lost its power. It lost its meaning to me as soon as you put a camera in front of it. And also, as Marianne said, this is the 80s. We had these clunky, big video cameras that were awful to use. They were very expensive as well, and they just couldn't capture the image. So I met, quite fortuitously, a young visual artist whose love was working with 16mm film and Super 8 film. And it was by collaborating with her that I got interested in this thing of how can the camera make me see movement in a different way. So I'll talk to some images here. So I began my career as a performer and a choreographer. Could I have the sound up a little, please? So it's the movement of the body that I shape and craft as an artist. Its rhythms, its dynamics, its energies. In fact, anything that moves takes my interest. So the moving image is my focus, and it's a transient, dynamic concept. It's gone in the blink of an eye. Very early in my career, I became interested in how a camera might enable me to see the human body with more accuracy and perhaps more insight. To get in closer, to show how extraordinary the body actually is. A little higher as well. Oh, okay. Oh no, it's right up there. So I began to make short films distilled from my live works, enjoying how the camera could give me a different perspective on the body, on the space around the body, and also to play with a different sense of time and to visualize time. Very quickly, I realized I needed to become an editor. The transitioning from one image to the next, to the next, to the next, was the truly choreographic part of making film for me. Deciding in time what to cut to, deciding on the duration of each shot, what rhythm to choose that cut, and of course the ability to direct the audience's eye through the camera was a very seductive thing for me as a choreographer. So I make work in a series format, and that means I have an overarching idea that I want to investigate that morphs through a series of forms and different works that I make in these series. So, for example, I made a series about time, and time's a very slippery thing to try and investigate. I began by making a short film called 3 Times, which was really a study on 3 different states of time. You're seeing just some examples of this now. With this one, I was really trying to play with a suspended sense of time. And a slipping through time. This next excerpt it became about finding the rhythms and the repetitions and the glitches we experience in time. So from making that short film, that was the beginning in this series, I then made a live performance for 6 dancers. We got to perform this at the Opera House here and toured it around Australia. And so it allowed me to flesh out these ideas in real time and space, but really bringing what I'd learnt from making the short film into the live theatre space. I then took the same material into another culture, Japan, to ask, do different cultures think about time in different ways? So I shot this film on the streets of Tokyo and Yokohama. It's called Will Time Tell. And every scene, I'm trying to be very particular about its rhythms and its temporal ideas, of course, as well as its visual, graphic qualities. Sorry, I wish I could get the sound, but I can't. Anyway. What intrigues me about travelling is how you lose your sense of time, or you become, I don't know, become displaced by when you're in a different culture. So I tried to bring this into each scene that we shot. So I then returned to Australia with my dancers and created another work from everything that we'd learnt in Japan. It was really a culmination of everything that I'd learnt during the series. This time, the form of the work was a gallery installation. So I used technology in different ways to distort time, video projection, and bringing the live performers into the gallery space. So the audience would move from room to room into different projected realities. I'm lucky enough to employ the same dancers through each of these series of works. So they bring this amazing information with them to each new work that we create. This was another room that the audience would follow the dancers into. We called it the white room. So you would sit very closely to the action. Only about 20 people could fit into this room. And the projections were projected live. I was creating these little animations live and projecting it in the space as the performance happened. Each room looked at time in a different way. This was much more about seasonal, cyclic feeling of time. You can't really see it here, but there's a little Lisa projected live into the forest there. I can't see it. Anyway, I was then lucky enough to be able to take this work back to Yokohama, where we first shot all the material. So I created a gallery installation in Yokohama and also took some of the performers with me as well. So the series had come full circle. It had taken me 3 years to make all of these works, and yeah, it felt really wonderful to end it by going back to Japan. So over the last decade, I've been working in this way, and I've made 3 major series of works where each work morphs into another form. And I've really enjoyed working in this way, and it enables me to really question how the language of dance and the language of cinema can come together to create something new. Something about narrative, because dance doesn't tell traditional narratives very well. I think what dance and cinema, I think what I'm creating with dance and cinema is perhaps entering a different way of dealing with telling stories. I don't tell very traditional narratives by any means. Yeah. How much time have I got left? Oh, good. Okay, so yeah, making these series of works has been really a really good process for me to find. I know visual artists often work in this way, but for me as a choreographer, it was a new thing to find, and it's really it's been a catalyst for really experimenting with the forms that I make work in. About 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to challenge myself out of the short film format. I wanted to deal with duration in a different way. So I started on a major project to make a feature film, and I did it. I somehow raised the money and I made a feature film. I travelled the world, and I'm going to show you a little trailer of it now. It's been out being screened around the world for the last year, so it's been a very exciting time for me. I'm going to show you just this little trailer. Again, dance is at the heart of it. It's the stories of 8 dancers based around the world. So look, just to finish, so I made a feature-length film and have been travelling the world with that. But to illustrate my process, it wasn't enough for me. I then created a 3-channel version of the film for galleries. So then it gives me the chance to choreograph 3 screens with all the information that I'd shot. So for me as an artist, that's what I love to do. I love to keep finding ways to keep evolving the material, to keep finding new ways of looking at it, of unravelling it, to get under the skin of it. So I think I'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone.